NBA.
No.
You probably know that from the basketball. Our favorite topic on this show, the Brooklyn Nets. All right, guys, they lost their third straight game last night. Still no KD. He's out due to contact tracing. Still no defense. Brandon says that's not important now. Still not in first place in the
roster
East.
Structure.
They got time. They got time. Time's the only thing they've got. Here's Kyrie on the problems that is plaguing the Nets.
We are the team that the NBA put the most games on. We're the team that gets someone taken out during COVID, during the games. We're the team that has to deal with the refs. We're the team that is literally battling against so many odds that at this point, it's not even a reason to continue to comment on them. They are what they are. And as a warrior that I am and that the energy that I have alongside my teammates, we just have to turn that corner. And we haven't done it yet, but we will. And I'm telling you, the league's going to be on notice when that happens. So just got to take it day by day.
I mean, he literally listed everything to complain about the fact that his team's nickname is just a net. It's just a net. You didn't even throw that one in there, Kyrie. Chris Broussard is joining us now. All right, Broussard. Kyrie laid it all out for you. What'd you make of his comments?
Well, look, I got to be truthful and fair to Kyrie. I listened to the entire 8 minutes and 12 seconds of his post-game interview.
Wait, Nick has to put his violin down. Okay, go ahead.
He was great. He said all the right things. And I don't mean politically correct things, but he said all of the things that need to be said right now about the Nets. He talked about their poor and horrible defense. He talked about them not being able to take all these bad teams lightly, which they've done all year. He talked about not settling for being average and mediocre. So he said the right things, but for that little 10, 12-second stretch where he just went off the rails and started making all these excuses. So, look, I get the frustration with your best player, a guy who's already had COVID, just by a strange incident having to sit out the last 2.5 games, and it'll probably be the next game as well. So I get that frustration in a shortened season where they need to be on the court together. But here's what I would say to Kyrie, James Harden, Steve Nash, all these guys. Stop just randomly sitting your stars out. They don't have time to waste. Even if they had blown Detroit out last night, I don't know what I could have taken from it because Kevin Durant's not there. These three guys need to get used to playing with each other. And we got to start seeing them on the court on a regular basis. Obviously, we can talk about the defense. They got to start focusing on that, on practice. And the way you become a good defensive team is when you have coaches that harp on it. Most players by themselves are not going to just say, buckle down and play great defense. They got to start harping on it in practice more so than the offense.
So a few things here. One is, you're right, Kevin Durant wasn't there. And you just can't expect James Harden and Kyrie Irving to be able to deal with Jeremy Grant and a Plumlee brother without KD. So I get it. You can't hold this loss against them. The Nets obviously were outmanned and outgunned last night by the Detroit Pistons. And guys, I know we can't talk about the defense because how do you talk about something that doesn't exist? You just can't. I mean, they allow 120 every single night. Every night, it's 120. It's a race to 130, and we'll see if we beat you there. So, and this idea that no, they just need to buckle down. That Kyrie Irving is all of a sudden going to become something other than a horrid defensive player. That all of a sudden DeAndre Jordan is going to find the time machine Elon Musk is working on and transport himself to 2015, and that's going to be their rim protection. That's not gonna happen. And I do empathize with Kyrie. It's been a long ongoing story throughout NFL or NBA history. The league's grudge and the refs' grudge against the New Jersey and Brooklyn Nets. I mean, poor Jason Kidd had to deal with it. Vince Carter had to deal with it. KG and Paul Pierce had to deal with it. They've always hated that team, and the refs officiate them accordingly. But I'm just asking to Brandon, to Broussard, at what point does the fire get big enough for you to say there might be a fire? At what point do you got to get to 7th in the standings? Do you have to lose more than twice to the Wizards? Just tell me when. Brandon, when can the fire start to engulf you enough to where you're a little concerned? A little concerned.
We talked about the same thing. I said, wake me up in mid-March. You know this, Nick.
Well,
these guys aren't playing.
What's today's date?
Like, what do we know? What do we know these guys for? We know them for their offense. Now, there's some role players. There's some guys on the bench that they need to do a better job. They need to play more efficient on that side of the on that side of the court. But when you look at KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, we know them for their offense. That's why we talk about them. So when you're a superstar and you score the ball, score the ball the way you do, when do you get going on the defensive side? When there's elevated competition and there's people in the crowd. You can check the stats this year. When there's competition, they play well. When they're playing against teams like the Detroit Pistons, they lose because they're just not doing it. But, Nick, I do believe in defense, but defense is not the strength of this team, and it's not why they're going to win the championship. You know, if we want to talk about it, let's show you some things that we can fix and what will be improved come mid-March. Like, these are things that just can't happen. DeAndre Jordan, you're right. Like, what is that? Look at this. Ball movement. There should be movement on the defensive side. You got Kyrie just standing there with no type of passion, no type of oomph to trying to play a little defense. Look at this right here. Look at the backside help, Kyrie. Where are you doing? Like, you know, keep your eyes on your luggage. DeAndre Jordan again. So I'm showing you these clips because these are things that will be fixed. You got guys just standing around, and this is what it looks like in the NBA in January, in February. This is a universal issue. There's 3 or 4 teams out there, Wiles, that's playing really good defense night in and night out. That's the situation here.
Brandon, you should be a little bit nervous. Not wildly nervous, but a little bit nervous. And Broussard, you know when teams bring in like celebrities for pep talks, like you bring in The Rock or Tony Robbins, I think the Nets should bring in Aaron Rodgers to give his relax speech. He'll be like, guys, relax, I'm engaged now, but relax with an asterisk, because here's why. And you brought this up, Broussard, so we looked up, me and Dusty crunched the numbers. The Nets are 7-6. LeBron's first year with the Big Three, they were 8-5 after 13 games. So look, it's just one game. You've done it well. Also, their Big Three is actually just the Big Two. They've only played 6 games together, and they're 4-2 in those 6 games. So I feel like there's plenty of time. However, here's the asterisk. This play was getting a lot of play on social media where DeAndre Jordan is basically, I'm not saying giving up, but it's not, you know, this is not Defensive Player of the Year after like, go ahead, get one. There you go. It's like something you do with your buddy, or if you're playing basketball with like your mom and like, oh, good shot, Mom. And then there you see Harden talking to DeAndre Jordan about defense, which I don't know if I'm like, hold on, is this James Harden lecturing me about defense? So you know you're in a bad spot. So I think there's time to relax, but there is cause for concern. So I know those feel like they're two competing statements, but the worry meter is ratcheting up by the day, Broussard.
Wiles, I like this interaction between Harden and DeAndre Jordan. I like James getting on him. And if you looked at DeAndre's comments after the game, he took ownership. He said, look, we have to play defense, but mainly me. He's like, this is what I'm here for. He didn't say it this way, but he's giving you 7 points a game. All right, if he's not defending, what in the world is he out there for? So he took ownership of it. He listened to Harden. You know, guys should be able to, you got to be able to talk this way amongst yourselves. So I like that. Let me throw out a little something that's going to wipe the smirk off of Nick's face and cleanse him of this nasty attitude he has toward the Nets. All right, Nick, the Nets are 7-1 with all the disjointed rosters, and, you know, he's here one game, he's not here. Durant's sitting out, James Harden's out, Kyrie's out. 7-1 with teams with a better than 500 record. That includes Denver, Utah, Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and the Clippers. Every elite team except the Lakers. They've beaten. So slow down, buddy. I don't want you to get embarrassed.
That should help them. That should help them in the AP top 25 poll when it's released, and you talk about strength of victory, so I'm excited for them. In the actual standings, they are currently behind the San Antonio Spurs, who aren't even trying to win this year. But can I defend DeAndre Jordan before we finish? Brandon, before I go to you? Guys, DeAndre Jordan is not good anymore. It's not that he's not trying. Okay. He's not good. He's on the team because Katie and Kyrie love him. And this idea, this is like in the playoffs last year. If we're like, man, why isn't J.R. Smith being better?